In electronic music, it's very male-dominated, as you can kind of see when you look at festival lineups. And there's not a lot of women. So there's this really great blog, actually, that shows sort of festival flyers, and they've actually taken out all the men in the flyers, and it's looking pretty sparse. There's only the odd one. Also, actually, behind the scenes in the industry, there's only around 30% of women are actually that do management roles, live sector roles, or in promotion. Also, with this scheme with PRS, it's called Women Make Music, and they did sort of a questionnaire after the scheme, and it was like 78% of women there had experienced sexism in the workplace, in the music industry, and didn't feel like had any sort of recognition for what they did as a woman in the industry. So actually, it's quite funny when I was preparing for this talk, I googled female DJs, just get a general thing, and there's a few articles which were good. Like, you can always rely on like Resident Advisor or something like that. There's always something good in there. But then every now and again, something slipped in, being like 10 hottest female DJs, or something like the 10 sexiest female DJs. It's just like, I don't really think this is anything about their skills, to be honest. So I'm just gonna bypass those. But when looking at female DJs in the industry, there's this one that really stands out for me, and it's this lady called the Black Madonna. She is originally from rural Kentucky, in a very small town where, again, music wasn't that accessible. Well, dance music wasn't that accessible. So she moved to Chicago to pursue her career as a DJ. It didn't quite work out. She was playing to a lot of empty rooms. No one really gave her the time of day. She was doing it for no fees. She ended up in a job that she just hated. And so she had to move back. In the end, she had to move back to Kentucky to live with her dad. And there was this one moment, this is all from an interview that I watched with her in, and she said there was this one moment where she was sat in her bed and she just felt rubbish. She was just like, this is my passion and I can't do it. How is it not working out? So she put on this podcast, which was, actually it's this thing called Optimo, and it was the last party they had at Sub Club, which is this club in Glasgow, which is really famous for dance music there. And she listened to it, and it was playing all the music that she loved, like what she was passionate about. And it gave her this turning point, which she described as proof of life, that there is somewhere out there, even though it's across the ocean, it's so far away, but it's something that she does and she loves. And so instead of just giving up, she persevered and she carried on. She started buying records again, and she moved back to Chicago, and she started the Black Madonna Project. She then, as she started the Black Madonna Project, she started up writing up this post-it note to be like, these are my achievements. This is what I want to this is what I want to do now. And within a year's time, she's done all of it. She's amazing. She's touring all over the world, and she's doing exactly what she wants to do. A part of this interview is like, she's 37 years old, which in the dance industry, if you're just starting up, that's, I guess, perceived to be as old, even though it's kind of ridiculous. But she's like, why didn't you do it any earlier? And she said, well, I didn't see women out there. I didn't see women DJing. And this is what kind of leads to my point of visibility. It's like, we need to have more visibility as women in the dance industry so women can see that you can do it, so that it's actually a possibility. Another point I wanted to make as well is about the structures of power and how it's perceived. So there's this other woman who I extremely admire, and it's this woman called Mary Beard. She's a historian. So it might seem like I'm going off topic, but I'll get back there. She is a historian, and she did this podcast called Women in Power. And it's very relatable to a lot of industries around the world, and obviously in this sense it's music. So the structures of power is how do we reform it so that women are inside this structure of power rather than on the outside? And it's the way to think about it is not to be. She said this amazing point of it is not to be a noun. So to have it as a verb. So say like to power. So instead of a possession, it's to be effective or to make a change in the world. So it's just a different way of looking at it. And then whilst I was watching it, and I was like, this is so great. Yes, this is true. This is what should happen. And I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about all the bad stereotypes you get of women. And I mean, there's quite a lot. But this one that really shone out for me was is women being too emotional, like too in touch with their emotions. Everyone's like, if a woman has just like has an opinion, sometimes they can be perceived as sort of like crazy or something. It's just like, oh, she's nuts. It's like, no. But then, so what I thought is, with this stereotype, why is this stereotype of being too emotional? Why is this a negative stereotype? If you're thinking out a structure of power to do something, to be emotional, and when I look at these women who are doing really well in their careers, it's because they're emotionally attached to this. They're doing it to make them happy. So why is being emotional a bad stereotype? Why can't it be a form of power? Yeah. So why can't it be a form of power? I really think it can be, because looking at these women and how they've, through perseverance, how they've created this visibility is how they've made it big and how they're about. It's all about their emotional connection. So, yeah, I was really nervous about doing this talk, as you might be able to tell. A little bit shaky. But I was to the point where I was like, I can't do it. And I spoke to my sister, who she also works in music, and she is a really big role model in my life. And she was like, you've got to do it. You just got to do it. Like, don't be an idiot. You've got to do it. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. And then after I sat down and thought about it, I was like, I'm actually completely contradicting my beliefs, like my ideas of stuff. Like exactly what I've just told you, I was doing the opposite. I was sat back hiding away and not making myself visible. And so I was like, right, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be terrified, but I'm going to do it. So, but this talk has taught me a lot, actually. It's not actually just how to spell perseverance. Again, finding out what it is and then spelling it is so hard. But yeah, not only that, but it's made me realise that through perseverance, it creates visibility, and this visibility is something like extremely powerful. And these women that are going out and doing it, they're incredible role models, and I hope that they carry on encouraging people, because if there's women out there who don't want to do it or they're too scared to do it, then they see them and being like, I can do it. And just break through this barrier that we seem to have as women. So yeah, it's just breaking this barrier, making yourself visible, and sort of creating your own form of power. But yeah, thank you for listening.